Good day, everybody. I know you're looking at this and saying, what the hell is WoofDriver doing now? So I'm wearing a pair of Apple Vision goggles. And the reason I'm wearing this is because I want to do some different kind of broadcasts. So this is kind of a research and development. It's not going to affect our time today. Actually, it's going to enhance it, hopefully, because I'm going to have the chat right in front of me. So any comments, anything, if you just want to do a shout out, any questions you may have on the subjects I'm talking about, please feel free to ask me. I know you can't see my eyes, but I'm here. Believe me, I'm here. It's a wonderful world of technology, and I'm always doing the latest and the greatest. I mean, all this technology really involves my dogs in one way or the other. So when I see something new, I'm like, how can the dogs benefit from this? What can I do to better our dog lifestyle with this? So it's really cool. And if you don't mind, somebody just send me a chat, send me a comment so I can make sure this is working, because this is the first time I've been doing this, and it may not work. This is the second time, actually. It may not work, but this is going to give me benefits. Like, I'm thinking about, and I'm hoping to do this when I feed the dogs every night, to broadcast that live or every few days, whatever, because a lot of people are interested. And remember, I'm doing my procedures, my practices, what I do. I'm pioneering a lot of these ways. And, everybody sees dog food today. There's a lot of frozen dog foods. There's a lot of farmer's diet kind of dog foods where they cooked, not cooked, raw, frozen, readily available, sent to your house. So I am pretty knowledgeable on a lot of this diet, a lot of the diets for dogs. So I'm not like going to advise people. I'm not a veterinarian in any way, but from my own personal experience and research, because I've been doing this for better than 30 years, and I could probably offer a lot of good. So I know the world is can be overwhelming sometimes, like dog food, just how many brands there are and how many kinds they are. Again, from frozen to cooked to raw to freeze dried to kibble to everything in between. So this is going to give people an opportunity. I know people are interested the way I feed, because my dogs are pretty much very physical, working out every other day, every day sometimes. And so they're athletic. And when you get into extreme athleticism from dogs, you're talking mushing, working dogs, where they even go to greater lengths than I am. I'm more of the guy, the pet guy, that is doing all the enrichment, and the dogs are working, but they're still doing life a little differently. So I'm kind of that hybrid. So if you look at me and say, "Oh, WoofDriver's not a professional musher," well, that's true. I'm not out there on the mountaintop or going through the Iditarod, etc. But I am working. I'm exercising and adventuring the dogs almost like anybody else can. So without the need to be a full-time musher, without the need to have that physicality or knowledge. So just a little excerpt there. Hey, Rod, if we get a chat, let me know, because I'm trying to see if I see it on here. I don't see anything yet. And folks, I'm saying chat, I mean a comment. So let's dive deep into the stream today. So today I said R&D, and yes, it's about these Apple Vision goggles. But for what you want to get out of this is I'm going to talk about some of the latest and greatest stuff I'm doing. You probably saw, if you follow me, a recent post of the dogs on the of the dog cart, the electric dog cart on sled on wheels that I developed, which the tunnel that I created for the air conditioning. I posted earlier about it earlier in the summer, and I just posted the second part to where we actually have it all together, and we were ready for testing. So it's the actual full tunnel. Last time I posted it was a half a tunnel. I've actually got the air conditioner and the ductwork mounted, and I've got it all assembled. And we had to reinforce some of the frame of the bike, actually, from some of the main support bars. We had to actually not so much re-support them, or we had to re-angle them. We had to put more bends in it so it would come up higher, because there's a little more weight. Remember, my designs, there's no weight on the dogs, so it's cantilevered from the frame of the bike. So what I had to do was, with this, I had to put another bend in it so it went up higher, so it would bring all the dog bars up higher, so they wouldn't contact the dogs. That's a big question on all my designs. People, they get the idea that there's weight on the dogs because of the way it looks, and because it looks a little bulky, for lack of a better description. But actually, it's very lightweight, relatively speaking. It is all almost all aluminum, so it's a lightweight metal, and the thickness grades we use are pretty much the thinnest we could use to still keep the rigidity. People ask me also, is it PVC? Some people ask. No, it is a lightweight aluminum. PVC might work. The problem is we can't, at least for what we're doing, bend it to the tolerances we want to. And it might be, it's not going to have the strength, at least for what we're using it for, with the thickness we'd like to use. So, that's part of why we do the R&D, because we test everything, and when we test everything, we exert the forces that the dog would exert on it without the dog, essentially. In most instances, sometimes we'll put the dog on there. We only do that when it's safe. So we're not testing in that facet to any put anything in any jeopardy. And remember, a lot of people don't know me, but my dogs are my life. What I do, my dogs are my family. So I love them endlessly, and I'll do anything for them. And that's why I'm doing this stuff. And actually, I'm here right now and I'm posting everything I do for the betterment of all dogs. So maybe you might not run dogs the way I do. Maybe you might have a little pint-sized dog. Like we have a little toy breed Chinese crested, all 14 pounds. So maybe you just want to get my feeding knowledge out of it. Maybe you want to find another way to exercise your smaller dog. Maybe you want to find some new ideas for enrichment. So I understand that, and I want to share this so your dog and all dogs out there, wherever they may be, can benefit from their owners or their family's knowledge that they may gain from what I'm talking about. So the first bit, so I wanted to cover that air conditioning unit. So that's still in the developmental stages, and it's not far enough along to try with the dogs yet, but it's getting there. I've actually got a test ride that I did, and you'll be able to see that soon. I'll make a post on there. But the other thing on the R&D, which has really been interesting, and I don't have them with me today, I did an unboxing, are these pet pace collars. And listen up to what I'm about to say, because it's really, besides being interesting, it could be life-changing in some ways for your dogs. And what they are, the pet pace collars, I'll try to put a link to my first unboxing. It wasn't really a review because I had just got them. So you'll see what you get in the box, approximate sizing of the unit, because I hold it up and I'm showing it. And that was my first question. How big is this? Because the dogs are supposed to wear them every day. Basically, the pet pace collar is a veterinarian style collar that looks nothing more than maybe a small invisible fence collar, or even a small fly collar, like a fly. If you're familiar with those, or the tracking collars, whatever, they're not real big. Like a fly collar is small. If you get the tractive extra large, I use a lot of these collars, so I know it's kind of big. This is more like a fly style, or if you're familiar with the invisible fence. Hey, from Cheryl Kovatek. Cheryl, thank you for the comment, helping me work through these Apple Visions. Good morning, all. Your setups of all your creations are beneficial for the girls, especially the odds and ends dogs need. Carry on. That's your signature there, Cheryl. I know it. Carry on. I love it. So thank you so much. And I really I pride myself again. I'm not going to toot my own horn. I've already done that, but I pride myself on really making this as readily available to everybody. A lot of these ideas and creations I do. A lot of people, you wouldn't believe how many people contact me beyond the social media outlets that I'm on, but through email and through other ways of getting a hold of me, that they want to do something similar. How can they build it? And unfortunately, right now, I've just got my video for a lot of the designs I do. I have some videos that I direct people to on my Dog Motorsports website, but we hope to do some other. We were even talking this morning, my producer and I, about maybe making some other videos that are real specific, that tell every dimension, that show every detail of how to do this. So pretty much anybody could do it, build these, but there is some welding and some specialized work involved. But almost everybody either knows somebody that can do a lot of the requirements for what I've done here, or they could take it somewhere, even to there's welding shops. And with the specifications that I'll be able to offer, they'll be able to take it and get the exact setup built. Of course, harnesses, all the other equipment I can provide links to. That's easy stuff. So what I was saying, thanks again, Cheryl. Always appreciate your input and your comments. I usually get a chuckle. I have a good time reading them. So thank you so much. So the pet pace collar, I mean, it's off the chart to me. So again, about the size of a phi collar, a small invisible fence collar. So they make different sizes too, but I'm talking their mini or their micro one, they call it, if you're familiar with that. So basically, technically speaking, about 2/3 of my finger and about I don't know, about a quarter of my finger tall, if that makes any sense. Really on the smaller size. Could a small dog wear it? I don't see any problems they could. I mean, my 14-pound Chinese Crested could wear it pretty comfortably. So, and when I say pretty comfortably, it's because they're meant to wear it virtually all the time. So, of course, they need to be recharged. You want to give your dog's collar, neck a break sometimes. Now, when I did my unboxing, I mentioned that I never let my dog sleep in collars because there's some hazards that could happen. I just like to let their neck breathe. I've, like I said, 30 plus years of doing this stuff. I've had bad results from some collars. I've done it all different ways, and that's what I found works best for me. Well, Pet Pace has changed my mind a little bit because, first of all, the lightness of the collar makes it more makes me open my mind a little bit to them sleeping in it. Then when you consider that it's the way it's hooked onto them, I've never seen the actual collar itself. Forget about the actual unit, the mechanics of it, but the actual collar itself, which is built into it. I don't know if it disconnects. I think it's actually part of the unit. Has a little bit of, I'm going to say what look like cleats, but they're not sharp. They're plastic. What it's designed to do is hold the collar in place. So when the dogs always shake their neck, you know how they do that. Do it in my Apple Vision goggles there, but they always shake their necks. You might see it when they get wet. When you first put a collar on them, they're trying to get it adjusted. They're trying to get their neck to feel better with whatever might be on them, and they're trying to shake water off of them if they've got wet, etc. But these cleats are designed to keep the collar perfectly underneath the dog. So what that means is I don't have to worry so much about the collar rolling around their neck and possibly getting stuck on something in the middle of the night. These are some of my concerns. So I'm like, if it's snug, but it's not too tight to where it's going to affect anything. I mean, you always want to make it so you can put two fingers under them. So what I do is that's how I test to see tightness of a collar, because you run risk if they're too tight, any collar, and you run risks if they're too loose. So usually I like to err on the side of them being a little on the little snug. When I say snug, I always have to get my fingers. Some people even say a palm, which is pretty much the thickness of your fingers, but these specifically say your fingers. And believe it or not, I put 4 of these collars on. I have one for each dog now. I was so impressed that I don't have any issues with their sliding around, and I don't have any issues of them saying they're too tight, they're not tight enough, etc. So I seem to have hit it right off the bat, and I've done millions of collars, not millions, but I've done literally I would say hundreds of collars, and I've never seen one that I put on right that's electronically reading the dog like some of these GPS collars, and it being set the first time I do it accurately. So it's been pretty impressive. The GPS collars are usually not um, they're not dependent on you putting them on a certain tightness, but when you get into e-collars, they're very important, especially when you talk about dogs' hair, their thickness, and when you get into huskies, woolly ones that are long hair, double coated, it's really hard to get the proper fitting for it. So I consider myself rather an expert at it because I've been through multiple generations of dogs fitting collars. So this is the first time I did these Pet Pace where it's got nothing on the backside, no kind of prongs or anything to touch their skin. It's strictly there's no probes basically. It's strictly I don't know how it does it. It says it's got all kinds of sensors on it. And my first question was, they supposedly are taking the temperature of your dog. Now they don't display a temperature; they're displaying a range, and it's usually signaled by a color. Green is good, yellow might be getting high, red too high. You're in a danger zone. So it's. I was hoping it would tell me the exact temperature. It tells you a range, but it doesn't tell you. It's made mainly put there to let you know if your dog has a fever. Um, but it's very useful. And then, and you might have seen me, that's why I'm calling this R&D, taking a dog's temperature using one of these infrared thermometers where you're supposed to aim it at the dog's body directly, like in their ear. But my dogs have so much hair in their ears, you'd have to pull it apart to get to it. And on their skin, if you do it anywhere else on their body, to get to that skin level is a lot of work. And my whole idea behind using these thermometers, I'm not talking the pet paste now, I'm talking the infrared gun thermometers, was to take the dog's temperature on the trail to see if they were getting distressed at all. Getting, when they start panning, people are like, they need water, they need this. Well, I wanted to find out the actual what it's doing to the dog, if anything. And so I was shooting on their paws because they lay down when we're running sometimes to rest, and that's skin. And I was getting that the dog's temperature is normal. I'm not sure if that's an accurate display. They say it's not a good idea to take the core temperature there, or it's not that it's not a good idea, but it's not as accurate. So I'm going to talk to veterinarians on that. I'm still developing, but I was hoping these pet pace collars would give me an idea on the temperature. They do, in the sense that they're telling you if they're regular, if they're getting medium, if they're getting too hot, etc. That is a little bit of a letdown. That's the only letdown I've had from them, except for when they say wear them all the time. To get the full gamut of readings, it needs to be roughly on them for the full gamut 90 days. But it seems like every 7 days, if you wear it for the first time you put it on, you'll get vital readings. You'll get their pulse. You'll get their breath rate, something called HRV. You'll get all these different readings that I'm not a veterinarian, so I wasn't familiar about them. But guess what? It's making me read about them, and they have really nice explanations for the layman, for those of us that aren't veterinarians, to better understand it. And if you see these vitals, it gives you an idea of where your dog's heart is when they're just resting, when you put on their dog. Of course, if you're using this like I am, where the dogs, knock on wood, are healthy, always knock on wood, it's a superstition maybe, where they're healthy, you don't have to be as maybe concerned right away. So sometimes veterinarians will give these collars, prescribe them if your dog might be having some issues, to track them, because they'll report to the veterinarian because they're set up that way. I mean, they're fascinating, and they can be instrumental in your dog's health, or in any dog's health. So when I first put it on, I'm getting these readings, and my veterinarians have always told me that almost all my dogs, through all my generations, have had healthy hearts. And they've been really impressed by their heart rate, in the sense that they say, yeah, we don't see heart rates like this. These are really athletic dogs. They don't see them around here, around where I live, because we're not in sled dog country. There's not a lot of working dogs they see, because it would be more common to have these athletic rates in athletic dogs that they would see. So some people, they walk their dogs, they do other activities. Athletic heart rate, you need to do more intense activities, just like a human. Every day we might be healthy, but if we work out, we're probably going to get some cardiovascular, we're probably going to get some heart rate, some good stuff for our heart, and it'll probably show. A resting heart rate will probably be lower, which means the heart is working less, which can help for our longevity. Well, that's the same with dogs. So when you first put them on, you get this heart rate. And when I'm seeing some of it, I was seeing in the 50s, and I'm like, that sounds, I don't know, kind of low, because their scale was like 60 to 83. And when I looked it up, it says, if you have really athletic dogs, you're going to get lower resting heart rates. The lower, the better. But if your dog was experiencing problems and you were getting a reading where it was too low or too high, I was getting readings of like 200 when they were working out. So we're on the trail, and I want to use my pet pace collar on demand live, meaning because it tracks all this stuff. It's the information's always in there. But I pick up my phone and I pull up the app and I see that it measures, it has a place to see their pulse every I don't know if it's 15 minutes or less, whatever it is, half hour. And I was seeing that, wow, they're up to like 200 or something. Is that bad? Is that good? I didn't know if they were, I could see they weren't in distress, but I didn't know maybe if they're gonna overheat or something, God forbid. And I'm looking, and when I better understood that they can have heart rates, at least from my understanding, I'm still getting new at this. Um, could have heart rate ratings of 250 maybe. So if they're really exerting themselves. So this all becomes of high interest to me. I've got 4 dogs, so I can compare each dog to each dog. And certainly if something looks way off, then it might be time to give the veterinarian a call, or that might just be part of that dog. So if I don't see any distress, if everything seems normal, then the next visit to my veterinarian, I'll talk to him or her about that and say, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And I want to see what they say. And also, it always generates veterinarian reports. You can always get it from there to give to your veterinarian, so they could actually see what you're seeing and maybe better address it and talk to me. And since what I do, I can see if it's agreeing with the dog or not agreeing with the dog right then and there when we're doing the activity and after. So, having the supporting stats really helps. And I'm just talking right now, their breathing rates, heart rates, etc., fever, etc. But it also will track, and some of the GPS collars will do this too, their sleep patterns, their posture. So it'll tell you how during the day, and even you can do this weekly and probably monthly. I haven't gotten that far yet. I'm only 9, 10 days into it. So if they're laying to the left, laying on their left side more, laying on the right side, tells you every side, laying on their chest, laying, standing up, sitting. It tracks all those postures. So it'll give you an idea. Well, my dog's really laying on the left side. Is something bothering them on the right side? Is they're laying down too much during the day, whatever. They establish these baselines. That's why you need to wear it for so often, because they're tracking them. And when you can see patterns that may be considered normal for your dog or maybe not, maybe you want to check it out in some way. So these are all really I mean, they're blowing my mind. And that's why I want to share it with everybody. I'll leave you with this on the pet pace collars. So I've got one dog, Nikita. Everybody who watches me might know Nikita. I call her the cocoa color husky. She's the gouty face, which means the dirty face, the dark face, and not the traditional husky mask. She she's not spayed yet, not fixed, and she will be in due time. But when she goes through her heat cycles, they disrupt her. So she might not eat as much. She might behave differently. Usually her physical fitness when we're out on the trail, you won't see it as much, except for she might tire quicker. So she's going through, and she also, because of this, and this could happen even if she wasn't, even if she was spayed, she's had false pregnancies, which is not that uncommon in dogs. So what that means is they actually produce breast milk and they start trying to nest and they're preparing to have puppies, but they're not really pregnant. So right now she's either on her heat cycle or she is in her false pregnancy stage. That's happened to her once, and I'm sure it could happen again. So she's displaying these behaviors consistent with that. And I'm noticing some days she gets really rough nights of sleep because the collar. And I believe me, where they sleep, I'm always monitoring my dogs. So I can go through the ring collar footage, the ring camera footage, wherever they're at. I've got ring cameras in all the strategic spots, and I can see how much she moved. I could see how much she got up. She drank water. She changed positions, whatever. I could track it through the collar too. So it's really neat. So when she had a restless night's sleep a couple nights ago, I took the collar, and at one point her heart spiked up. It wasn't in a danger zone, but her pulse spiked up, which her heart rate. And I was curious why. It was just, maybe the collar, it's not an exact science. I'm thinking maybe the collar wasn't reading it right. And I went on the ring camera because she was in view of that. And actually, I could see her twisting and turning and getting up and getting down right at that moment. So something was making her restless. And I'm thinking, and it's all got to do with, of course, her heat cycle, etc. What I then did was I put the at night the dogs sleep with um, there's mats available for them, cooling mats that they can sleep on that are, you might have seen me research and development again. We have water filled mats that cycle through a cooler with ice water. So their mats can get down where they lay, can get down to less than 50 degrees. I think I've had it as cool as 52. I might have had it as 49 degrees. So that feels really good to Huskies. So they enjoy their mats. Usually at night, I don't use fans. During the day, I usually use fans where they're at so they can come in and out and they can get to a fan when they want. The mats are off during the day usually. At night, I like using the mats and not the fans. That's just my system. So the other night, I used the fan on her and she actually got a better night's sleep. So, and I saw because through her pulse, through her heart rate, that she was actually more content. She was actually more solid. Now, is it because she's getting over her heat cycle, or is it because we did have some exercise that day? She was a little more tired out. Did the fan make the difference? So I'm going to keep researching and developing and understanding better how her heart rate and her vitals are possibly affected by even just a fan. Really interesting. So I always believe and always find the better night's sleep your dog can get, the better they're going to be when you're doing your activities, and the better their lives are going to be. So I'm always trying to find what makes it best for them. And when I talk about that, I'm even talking about music, playing white noise, light relaxation music. I've even produced a lot of this for my dogs before any of these dog relaxation channels, YouTube were out. I didn't have a place to go, so I wanted to do my own, and we did that. I'm working with all the music producers I did. We've made a bunch of music, so I put that on. Kind of, it masks out other sounds in the house, whether people are up in the middle of the night. Sometimes I've got a stepdaughter, I've got a niece that might be there, might be doing their thing, going down to the kitchen at 3 in the morning. Myself, I might do that. Don't tell my wife. And sometimes I get up real early to run the dogs. I'm up at 3, 4 in the morning, and I don't want to get them up yet because I'm doing my shower, I'm getting equipment ready, we're getting loaded up, and I don't want to get the dogs too excited. I want them to be able to sleep. So the music all plays a part of that. Plus, I believe, that the calming sounds, calming tones will help them sleep. So there's a lot of things I do in my procedure, and that's why I come on here to explain it all, because people, we might foo it and say, yeah, that's music helps humans. How can it help dogs? Might push some of these ideas aside. Well, I'm actually trying them out. So you can learn through my research and development. So the pet pace collars can be a really amazing tool. And I'm still finding out new ways that I can correlate the dog's behavior to certain aspects of how their body's reacting. And by the pet pace collaring, measuring that could be off the charts for the betterment of all dogs. So I hope to keep sharing that. And please ask me questions. If you care to get one, I don't sell them. I don't have anything to do with any of the companies that I'm talking about, any of the equipment. I make no money from any of that or anything I'm doing, basically, just a little few dollars here on social media. So I've got no reason to push it in either direction, but they are kind of expensive. They're like $180. And then I believe it's like, or $200. And then they're like $180 a year to track them, to get all these results and to keep all the results. You can't use it without the subscription. So you're talking about a $400 investment. Of course, after you have the collar, you don't have to pay for that again. This is the second version of that collar. I believe the first one was like, I don't know, 5-10 years ago they produced it. So interesting stuff. If you got any questions, again, that's why I'm wearing the Apple Vision glasses, or goggles, if you will, because I've got a screen up where I can see your questions live. And I'm going to do some of my dog feedings. I could start tonight, tomorrow, next few days, start broadcasting these so people can see how I do it. And also, when we resume, we've started traveling, not real far yet because there hasn't been a big disparity of temperatures and weather between all the points that we travel on the East Coast right now. So I've been going kind of local and I've been using some new equipment. You might have seen me on my Seiko cart yesterday. So when we get to the more exotic locations, when we really start traveling, I hope to use the Apple Vision goggles if I've got signal to be able to broadcast our travels and you to see it almost live or firsthand from where we're at. The other thing I wanted to talk about with the research and development is you've seen yesterday that I did the Seiko cart where I've got 4 dogs hooked up in a linear fashion. So what that means is they're side by side by side by side. Usually the Seiko cart is like the benchmark for mushing dogs. It used to be. I believe it was made in the 70s. I became the North American distributors in the 90s. It's really cool. So this Seiko cart is probably one of the easiest ways to train dogs to pull and to train dogs sled dog commands. Almost any dog can use it that's of I believe probably 30, 40 pounds. My huskies are all around 50. So when you see the sizing and you see the cart, they're about average size for a husky. You can get a better understanding of the size of it. But 1 or 2 dogs, depending on the breed, the size, the condition of the dog, can pull it. So it's very light. The original Seiko cart was like 64 pounds. And depending on your weight, I used to have 2 dogs that would love the Seiko cart. That's how I learned to do what I do. They would take me to the local trail up and down, up the trail is a 50-mile trail. So up and down because I would usually go myself 2 to 3 times a week. And I mean, we did this for years. So the Seiko cart's really cool. You can put more dogs on it if you go forward. So if there's tow bars on there, so you'd have to use a longer tow bar, and you can get 2 dogs in each tow bar, and you can have 4 dogs that way, which I've done, and you can see that on YouTube as well. But I've invented a way to run them side by side to have 3 or 4 dogs. I did 3 dogs for many years. Now I've done 4 dogs, and we just brought that to fruition this summer. That's one of the things during the heat we've been working on. And yesterday we tried it out just on the street close by the home. We were actually going to take a trip, a dog trip, one of our weekly adventures, but my van had issues. So said, hey, let's try the new modified Seiko cart and let's actually do it around my neighborhood, which I do run the dogs around there anyway. Usually I don't do them on the dog carts because they're too low and you're in a street with traffic and they're less likely to see you. But because I had my team out there with me yesterday, I was safer on the street and we had the appropriate equipment. So I was as visible as possible. So I felt like it would be a good time to do it. So we did that. And we also put electric on the Seiko cart, which means that the dogs don't have to pull. That's what Dog Motorsports is all about. So I had done it in different capacities. I used to have a bike trailer that would push me that was electrified. That's how I was previously putting the electric on the Seiko cart. But now I actually have one of the wheels have the motor in it. They call it a hub motor, got a throttle, and it worked flawlessly. So really can't tell you. I love the Seiko cart. I can't tell you how much. The newer ones are just cost prohibitive. They're like $4,000 or $5,000, and they don't have motors for that money. So they're really cool and they're high tech. The new ones. I prefer the older ones, and you can find them on Facebook Marketplace sometimes, on eBay for about $1,000, and that's what mine are. I've got some of the newer ones too. I used to sell them, but I love Seiko. Their original, the what they pioneered, their design, the way the tow bars hook up, the way their harness system works. That's all part of their whole product. But they've just redesigned their bike, which has made it more expensive. So that's doing with that. And then we have the latest, the very latest. You saw, I'm trying to get myself back in shape, and hopefully everybody will be with me on this journey. I'll talk about it more as I do it. But I've incorporated, and we talked about this on our last podcast. Actually got a human sled that the humans are supposed to push for physical fitness, and I've adapted a way so I can share it with the dogs, so they can pull it and I can push it. Therefore, we get to a challenging hill, or they get tired for whatever reason, I'm pushing behind them. So instead of a motor, it's me, and I'm getting exercise. They're getting exercise. I know a lot of people are into fitness that watch me. It's a great thing to do. And the latest one, I have a Street Strider. Don't know if you heard of them, but that's like an elliptical. So your hands and your legs are moving back and forth. And you go to a gym and they're usually stationary, like a stationary bike. Well, this Street Strider is an elliptical that actually moves. It's got wheels on it, and you could take it up and down a street, a boardwalk, etc. Really cool exercise. So in WoofDriver fashion, I've got an electric one. So I'm talking about putting the dogs on it. So that's a bigger load. So I might need a little bit of that electric to assist me if I can't propel it with my legs and arms the way it's designed. So this has been a feat. We've been hemming and hawing through this, but we think we have a design. And I actually wrote it last night without the dogs, of course. I'll do some videos on that. But that actually, um, the only problem, this is all leaning, steering, and I've gotten into lean to steer. That's what they call it on different other bikes that I have. So it's almost like riding a motorcycle. You lean as you steer it, though it has steering independent. This has no real independent steering, like the scooter I have that you've seen, the cycle board you may have seen if you follow me, where you just totally lean. It's got no movement on the handlebars. So the Street Strider has a little bit of movement, but it's real easy to lean to steer. But that just adds another realm to having dogs on there, and it's probably something only I would do. I'm sure I'm the only one in the world that's got this that we made. We made it for my design with the hitch receiver that actually takes the mushing bar and puts the dogs on it. So that's really interesting too. When you see this, you'll be amazed. I'm amazed that my team was able to put it together. And we're with 4 dogs, it might be a little more challenging, but with 2 dogs, it might be more doable. I'm just learning to ride it myself. So with no dogs. So I'm gonna get out there with 2 dogs and try it soon because I'm getting the hang of it. And then depending on the results, the um, reliability and the control of it, I might take it up to the 4 dogs. I did want to let you know that it's all the dogs can't really steer it because of the way the steering's designed, because you have to be in a certain position to do your leaning process. Leaning in front of it's not going to work. So all of these latest designs from just bikes and products that other companies and people are coming up with and producing are really technologically advanced, and they really help challenge our human brain with all the lean to and all the different physical aspects of them. So it's really interesting. And as we age, how cool would it be to have our dogs help our fitness program? Now, with a professional musher, someone out there really doing mushing, they are actually pushing with their feet, pushing off, and they've got some really good physicality. But remember, most of the time, they're in areas that got a lot of open space, they get a lot of snow, they get a lot of the proper conditions. For us urban mushers, we're in areas that have less space and more restrictions. So that's why I developed the equipment I do. So I'm going to be on here just for another couple minutes. I'd love to see somebody chime in, ask me any questions, any comments. I know we haven't been here in a few weeks. We've just had traveling going on from my producer, and I've had developments going on with all the equipment I'm talking about. So we haven't been able to make it. We hope to do it on a more consistent basis, maybe starting today. It seems to be Tuesday, 10 to noon is our usual sweet spot where we like to get here. So if you want to put that on your schedule, that hey, look out for the WoofDriver then. And also, if you're viewing this after hours, after the broadcast, please feel free to comment, to ask questions. I've been really active on social media lately. So if I make a post and you've got a question or a comment, I like to address it. No matter how maybe basic you may think it is. I know a lot of people don't know anything about what I'm doing. So I love to help educate people because it might not pertain to you exactly, but there might be in some other ways of your life that could help. So, and you might know somebody that's got dogs or does something. A lot of people get into what I do, not even for the dog aspect, believe it or not, just for the technology, for building the bikes I build, and for even going to the trails that I travel. They learn about different trails. And even for not doing any of these sports, they've done them in the past, living vicariously through me, as well as the health aspects. They might not have anything to do with dog sports, but they want to learn about different feeding methods and different procedures I do, like the pet pace collar, etc. So it's a whole realm here, and I take it upon me to do it all because I want to give my dogs, all the generations of dogs I've had and hopefully continue to have, the best lives possible. And I want to help as many dogs out there because so many people get these dogs. And just like me, I was a first time dog owner, had no idea. And I was a first time husky working breed owner and had no idea. So I was fortunate enough to know enough people to help me get involved. And I took the time to research. So we've got a comment from Daniel Fulgham, if I'm saying that right. Love your videos. Come to the Grand Canyon. Thanks so much, Daniel. I hope to make it to the Grand Canyon. I've been there once as a tourist, and it's one of the most beautiful places on earth. I would love to get to that area to be able to run the dogs. I don't know if it ever gets cool enough. I guess you guys cool down in the winter sometime. I don't even know. But if it gets to the right environment, the right conditions, we would love to come and do that. Oh, we hope to expand the WoofDriver on Tour series. Thank you, by the way, for that comment. Really appreciate it. We hope to expand the WoofDriver on Tour series, where I do travel up and down the East Coast to run the dogs, to get that out further west. There's a lot on the bucket list. Certainly Colorado, Arizona, if we can get it. So Daniel said, miles of greenway on the rim. Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So what Daniel, can you tell me what the temperatures in the winter get like? Because we have the ability to travel. We do overland travel. That's how we get to where we go. I mean, we go to destinations as far as from us, we're in Maryland, like the Cape Cod Rail Trail in Massachusetts we've gone to. We've gone right to the border of Tennessee. So we got a large range. We can go overnight depending on the areas. And that's where we hope to go out west at some point to get to, Daniel's talking about the Grand Canyon, to get to some of the more iconic bucket list places. There's a trail in Iowa. I forget if anybody's watching from Iowa, please fill me in. That is supposedly one of the best rail trails. So the rim is 7,000 feet. Even in the summer, it's 50s at night. So you just made my day. So that is on the bucket list right now because that means we're able to do. Think Denver. Yes. I lost the message because I moved my hand. So Daniel said, think Denver. I guess Denver. With Denver weather. Okay, that's great. That's great. I would, again, you're on my bucket list, your area, because anywhere that gets in the 50s at night, that's really doable for us. Tops of snow in winter. Wow, that's cool. We hit snow, we're in the Huskies heaven. That's really cool. These are the kind of places, tons of snow in the winter. There we go. I thought you were talking the mountaintops get snow in the winter. So when we, our travels, I hope to start including some of these, like I said, more iconic places out in going west in the mountains and places like Arizona, like the Grand Canyon. I want to do it with the dogs so much. It's a totally opposite spot from the Grand Canyon, but we've done Washington, D.C. at night when conditions were right. So you can imagine going through all the monuments like the Washington Monument, the Martin Luther King Monument, the Thomas Jefferson Memorial, the actual Lincoln Memorial. And we didn't quite make it to the U.S. Capitol, but we came close. So those are the kind of areas we hope to travel because of my equipment that I use to mush the dogs, Dog Motorsports. We can go almost anywhere. So the Grand Canyon would be a place I would probably take something like my Swin car. So the Swin car is capable of off-roading, and that would be just amazing. So thanks so much again for the suggestion there and all the information about that area. I'm definitely going to look into it. And if I make it there, I'm going to keep everyone apprised of all my travels anyway here on the WoofDriver channel, wherever you're watching me from. So, folks, I'm going to wrap it up here. I really appreciate any interaction we get. It's great. Stay tuned for our next vodcast, I call them, shooting for next Tuesday. I'll try to keep everyone apprised of that on social media, on some of my posts, as well as I hope to do some live broadcasts of our travels and feeding the dogs. Stay tuned for that. Everyone have a wonderful day. I really appreciate all the comments, all the support, and all the love. I'm Wolf Driver signing off. Have a great day, everybody.